Israelite.
That's right.
Yes.
Does anybody remember his name?
Yes.
What was his name? Last name was Melech.
Eved Melech.
Eved Melech, thank you. Which means a servant of the king, Yahweh. He was a black man from Ethiopia. And while all the Caucasians were throwing, the Jews were throwing him into a pit, he was pulling the prophet out of a pit and saving his life. Meaning Israel's always been Joseph's coat of many colors. We need to grow up. We need to get over all the stereotypes and all the things we've been taught.
That's right. That's right.
But you haven't come to replace Jewish Israel, you've come to live with me. And I'll teach you. Grab my teach sheet. Why does Zechariah 8:23 says in the last days, in those days at that time, 10 men will grab the seat of him that is called a Jew and say, I'll go with you because I've heard Yahweh is with you. Why isn't it 9 men? Why isn't it 7 men? Because it is the 10 tribes returning to be joined with Judah under the throne, the kingship, and the authority of Messiah Yeshua somebody.
Hallelujah.
It's 10 tribes returning with Yehudah. Not to replace me, but to be with me. The church is not the new Israel. That is a lie from the deepest pit of hell. But they're part of Israel, and they can become part of Israel if they're willing to walk the Torah walk. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Where were we? Verse 4. Surely he has borne our griefs. Notice our past tense, which is prophetic, perfect verbs. Prophetic, perfect verbs. He has borne our griefs and carried our sorrow. Israel, both houses. Yet we didn't reckon him beaten, smitten, of Elohim afflicted. But here's the truth. Not our thinking. Here's the truth. He was wounded for Israel's transgression. He was crushed for our iniquities. The chastisement of our shalom, or the chastening that brings us shalom with Yahweh, was upon him. And with his stripes we are healed. Now look, that shalom, that chastisement that brought shalom, what non-Jews teach, non-Jewish believers, oh, I know what that means. That means that through Mashiach's death, Yahweh and man were at peace, right? Yes, that's in the Pashat, in the first level of Hebraic interpretation. But in the second level, or the Remez, what's Yahweh saying? I brought peace between the two houses. Ephesians 2:13, through the blood of Moshiach, he has taken them who were far off and brought them nigh, and so between the twain, he has made shalom and one new man. So the shalom that his chastisement brought was not just the shalom between Yahweh and lost man. Listen, it was the shalom and healing between both warring, battling factions of our people. Our long national nightmare is over. Judah and Ephraim can be reconciled, and the two houses, and the kingdom is going to be restored because Yeshua's shalom brought peace between these two battling brothers. Make sense? Read Ephesians 2 carefully. It has nothing to do with Jews and Gentiles. Well, wait a second, Rabbi, I don't understand. How come my Brit Chadashah, my New Testament, says Gentiles? We'll go in the Greek or in the Aramaic. See what it says. It doesn't say Gentile. It says nations. And then when you understand who's coming out of the nations, you know if the nations are filled with the seed of Jacob, who do you think is coming out of the nations? That's the mystery of the idolatry. Not that non-Jews are going to believe and get saved. Non-Jews have always believed and gotten saved.
Always.
Ruth was a non-Jew. Rahab was a non-Jew. Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Rehoboam's mother, Rehoboam, one of Solomon's wives, Rehoboam's mother was an Amorite. And if I asked you who was the first Jewish king, you'd say Rehoboam. When the kingdom split into two houses, Rehoboam was the first king of Judah, right? Correct. His mother was Ammonite. By Jewish halakha, that would mean he's not Jewish. So Israel has always been and so the mystery of the idolatry is, when will Messiah come? We are waiting for the fullness of the Gentiles to return. Are you going to believe Yahweh? If you believe Yahweh, the fullness of the Gentiles are the seed of Ephraim, Israel, ready to come home. And when the fullness of the Gentiles come home, then all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, the deliverer shall come to Zion and remove ungodliness from Jacob. When? Then. When? Then. When? Then. What are we waiting for? What is the mystery of the olive tree? That some Jews get it and some Jews don't get it? No. The mystery is when the fullness of the Gentiles comes in, then all Israel will be redeemed, saved, and the kingdom can begin. So what are we waiting for? Are we waiting for every Jew to accept Christ? That's a pipe dream. People that teach that are on dope. If you're waiting for every Jew to get saved, sweetheart, take a long breath and make sure it's a good one. Because even the Jews that saw Yeshua walk on water didn't believe. And when he rose from the dead, he upbraided them for their unbelief.
Yes.
Don't wait for every Jew. That can't mean what it said. That can't mean what you think it means. It means, here's the mystery. Ready? When the fullness of the Gentiles comes in, then all Israel will be saved. All Israel that's ordained to be saved and elected to be saved will be saved. We're waiting for the 10 lost tribes. They look black. They don't look Jewish. They look Cubanos. Muchos Ifremitas in Havana Pequeña. ¿Sí? ¿Verdad? Es verdad. They look Puerto Rican, they talk Puerto Rican, they eat the guacamole, shamalimi, calami, Hebrew Nacional. Alogna. They're coming a weird shape, and the last thing in your head is that they're Jewish, because they're not Jewish. Good morning, wake up call. But they are Israelite. It's the mystery of the olive tree. Well, Rabbi, I don't receive that. My church told me that the olive tree was Jewish, and we're just grafted in. By God's grace, we're grafted in to the Jewish tree. Really? You want me to prove to you that the olive tree is not Jewish?
Yes.
Go with me to Jeremiah 11.
Yahweh, that's what I'm talking
Go with me to Jeremiah 11.
about. Yes.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Jeremiah 11. Who told you? Send me that pastor that told me that the olive tree was Jewish. He was talking out of his own gospel. Let's see the true gospel. Jeremiah 11. Jeremiah 11. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. There it is. Let's find it. Verse 16. Ready? Turn to your neighbor and say, are you ready? Turn to your neighbor and say, are you really ready? We're going to have to leave behind a lot of preconceived ideas now. Ready? Yahweh has named you. Okay, who determines what the olive tree is? Yahweh has named you. Jeremiah 11:16. Who determines what the olive tree is? Yahweh has named you. Yahweh has named you green olive tree, fair, full of good fruit, tov fruit. However, with the noise of a great tumult sound, he will set it on fire. John 15, all the branches that do not abide in me, my Father will break them off, and they'll be cast into the fire. I am the vine, you are the branches. The tree is the olive tree. Yahweh will set it on fire, and its branches shall be broken. Turn to your neighbor and say, shall be. Here's a prophecy. The olive tree, when it started out, was good, full of what? Good fruit. But Yahweh's going to start cutting the branches due to unbelief and unfaithfulness. What kind of branches is he going to cut off? Now the church tells you they cut off the Jewish branches to scotch tape you in. You're not scotch taped, honey. You're Israel. Israelites don't need to be scotch taped. They return to their own tree. What do I mean? Look at the end of verse 17. Yahweh is going to cut those unbelieving, unfaithful branches. Yahweh hosts, who planted you and named you, verse 17, has now spoken evil against you. What kind of evil? For the evil that he found in the branches of the house of Israel and the house of Judah.
Come on.
Because they provoked me to anger against themselves by burning incense to the Lord. The Hebrew word is Lord. We don't believe in the Lord. The Hebrew word Baal is Lord. Baal. Go look it up in any Hebrew dictionary. Lord. Baal. We don't believe in the Lord.